Assalamu alaikum everyone and good evening. My name is Bilal Arif and I'm the president of the Robotics and Automation Club, which is the organization that is conducting this webinar with Career Tuners AI. Uh, so, um, before we get started with me introducing Fatemah, I would like to talk to you guys about why are we organizing this session. So all of us, most of us would be students from the first year of undergrad or final year of undergrad. We might have some folks who are joining us from postgrad studies as well. So whether we're looking for internships, whether we're looking for applying to study abroad, or whether we're looking for applying for fellowships or for graduate jobs or management training programs, all of us have to craft that perfect resume. And that one piece of page has to express our skills, our knowledge, our 4 years of academics in undergrad, or even if it's postgrad included. So that one piece of paper has a lot of significance, and most of us sometimes fail to use that piece of paper to the best we can because we might not be able to either express ourselves, our skills, our knowledge, the projects we have worked on, the internships or work experience we have had, the academic experience we've had. So we are honored to have Fatemah here today. And with an introduction to Fatemah, so she is the founder of Career Tuners and also Career Tuners AI. She's been working for 13 years in the field of guiding students and being a career coach. She has 13 years of experience in career development, and Career Tuners offers a lot of services to job seekers in the U.S., including resume writing, LinkedIn profile optimization, writing cover letters, preparing for interviews, salary negotiation, and career coaching, and much more. And career tuners, because they've been working for the past 13 years and have extensive experience, and it's being led by Fatemah, so they have had a lot of successes. Even thousands of job seekers have reached out to them, have accessed their services, and are now working at top companies in the U.S., including Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and much more. So we are really honored to have Fatemah from all over from California. And I hope that you guys have a great session. And if you guys have any questions, as Fatma said, so do drop it either in chat section or in the Q&A. And we hope to make the session engaging. So if you have any questions, so please engage and do share your responses. After you, Fatma.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a great introduction. Let me add a little bit to that. How do I share my screen? Okay, so you can see my screen, hopefully. And let's jump right to the presentation. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the 3 primary rules of resume writing. This is a workshop at careertuners.com, but let's first talk about why you should care, right? Like, who am I? Why is what I'm saying important? Why am I the ultimate authority to talk about this topic? So this workshop, I actually just took the slides and the presentation from a workshop that I gave to a scholarship organization called Gamam. They paid me $2,500 for my 1 hour of time. So I'm highly sought after in this space. What you guys are getting is basically that $2,500 presentation completely for free, with the added knowledge that we have gained using ChatGPT in the past, few months. So I'm going to be showing you guys how you can use AI to tell your story better. Additionally, you should care about what I have to say because I hire NUST students all the time. In fact, I am co-authoring a book with my colleague Sumaya Heather, who went to NUST Business School. She also got her MBA in HR from NUST. We've been working together for we'll be working together for 10 years next year, so 9 years, I guess. Math, right? I'm good at math, I promise. I have a background in engineering. But sometimes when you're giving a presentation, the numbers don't come out properly. So I hire NUST students. I work with them all the time. I have more than a decade of experience working with NUST students, hiring NUST students. And I know exactly the kind of mistakes that NUST students make, especially the students that I feel are underserved by the career services organization. Students who have changed their majors, students who have changed their career paths, students who have extenuating circumstances, such as having dependents at home that they're providing financially for, or students that also have to do a job while they're working and the job is totally unrelated to their degree. Like, these are students that are underserved, not just by career services organizations within Pakistan, but also in the United States. When you're a non-traditional candidate, your resume is going to not look good if you follow the standard practices that people say you should as a student. So the goal of this presentation is to basically help you take your story, no matter what it is, no matter how non-traditional you are, no matter how traditional you are. Maybe you're exceptional and you have a 4.0 and you're the president of all of these clubs and all of the clubs are super relevant to the job you want to do. Maybe not. Regardless of who you are and what your story is, I'm going to show you how to use AI to tell that story and how to look good on paper and get the job you want. That's what I'm doing for public speaking, but my regular job, I help people get jobs that pay at least $150,000 per year. These are usually director level professionals. I'm saying at least 150,000, like typically it's 200 to 300 and higher. So this is something that I do every day. I help people get 5-figure raises. The last candidate that I helped with a salary negotiation service improved his pay by $70,000 per year. So the stuff that I'm saying works. And like everyone that I work with is usually exceptionally talented, but they're just really bad at understanding how to take what they offer and contextualize it to what's the hiring manager's biggest headache. So I'm going to make that transparent for you. And I'm here to tell you that it's not so much about your story, but taking your story and fitting it within the framework of what the hiring manager is looking for. So the first step of what we're going to do today is kind of reverse engineer what they're looking for and then put your story within that framework. And I'm going to be really respectful of your time and try to end at 9 o'clock sharp, because I know it's not fun staying up all night listening to a random auntie talk about resumes. So we'll get through this quickly. All right. So please take notes, and hopefully there's a recording that you can access after. So the purpose of this workshop, let's talk about why we need to talk about resume writing in the first place. Like, what's the point? Like I said, there's a lot of conflicting advice online, and a lot of the advice is incorrect. Additionally, I don't think the advice online really serves non-traditional students well. It doesn't serve students that don't have that 4.0, that don't have all of those extracurricular activities, right? So I'm going to show you exactly how to write a good resume while navigating all the conflicting advice online. And to put this workshop together, it's, I surveyed more than 3,000 recruiters all over the United States based on what they like to see in resumes. And this is a condensed version of our survey results. Okay, so let's talk about what the purpose is of a resume. Some people think that a resume is a tool that you use to get a job. Others think that a resume is a portfolio and they include each and every project that they've ever done on their resume. Some others might think that a resume is a list of skills that they have to write as exhaustively as possible. And while a resume can help you get a job, while it can help you showcase some of your portfolio items, and while it can help identify what your biggest skills are to the employer, that's not what the purpose of a resume is at all. The purpose of a resume is to get an interview, to just have that conversation. And then in that interview, you're going to use your personal charm and interview skills to ask the interviewer for a job. All right, so let's keep that in mind. You're not going to get a job with a resume. You're just going to get an interview. That's a totally different purpose. So you don't have to dump everything and feel super stressed out about, oh my God, I'm not, doing this properly. Don't worry too much about it. It's just to help you get your foot in the door, and then you're going to use your personal charm to do the rest. Sounds good? Okay, so let's talk about the main meat of the workshop. What are the 3 primary rules of resume writing, and how do people mess this up? It's just a little comic here. This guy's like, I've never seen such an attention-grabbing resume, and his hair is all up. So let's talk about rule 1. The first rule of resume writing is to understand visually where is your reader paying the most attention, right? People have, limited mental bandwidth. They are going to pay more attention towards the top of the resume. So they're paying more attention higher up in the document than they are on the second page or on the bottom half. And let me ask you guys this. I'm going to open my chat up really quickly. Have you guys ever had to read a book for like an English class and it was really boring? Has anyone had to do that? Raise your hand if you had to read a book for like English class. Yep. And it was really boring. Yeah. Did you actually read the whole thing after reading the first few boring pages, or were you like, oh my God, I can't do this, and you ask your friends for notes? Raise your hand if you were like, no, I can't do this. Yeah, a lot of you. That's exactly what happens when you have a resume and the first few lines aren't grabbing your attention. And you don't grab someone's attention by, filling it with a bunch of fluff or like being like, hey, listen, I'm awesome, I'm a self-starter, I'm accomplished. That's not actually what grabs someone's attention. What grabs someone's attention is if you say, I have read your job description and I am the exact right person for that role, right? So let's take a look at this rule in action. So this is like a standard how, standard resume advice will tell a new graduate to put their resume together. You're starting with your degree. Okay, great, whatever. You did a study abroad program. You were studying integrative anatomical sciences and psychology. I literally don't know anything. Like, why should I hire you? Okay. Versus this one. This one meets ambitious research goals by contributing towards designing robust investigations into cancer, maternal health, and asthma. And then they've listed their most important skills. Now, this one's really interesting because if I'm hiring for, like a research project, or if I'm hiring in the healthcare space, I would immediately look at this resume and I'd be like, okay, this guy is exactly, he's exactly who I want to hire. And some of the resumes that I see from NUST, they'll have this kind of beginning and then they'll add a GPA, and the GPA is like under 3.5. So the very first impression, you're saying, hey, I'm not a perfect person. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be starting with your weaknesses. You should be starting with your strengths. Not saying that a GPA under 3.5 is bad, but when you're a recruiter and you're skeptical and you're just looking at each person as a piece of paper, you're not going to be impressed by someone who has a 3.3 when you also see another resume that has a 3.8 on it, right? It's just, they're just comparing apples to apples, and they don't, they're not going to pick the person with a lower GPA. So instead, starting with like a one-line summary, that's it. That helps the reader understand who you are and what your strengths are. Helps them read the rest of the resume a lot more carefully. So if you start with this and then you have your degree, then I would be like, okay, I can understand how an integrative anatomical sciences master would help someone with my research project. You know what I mean? Like this, even if you have the exact same content after, it's just that by having that really cool introduction, like you guys remember like back in the day Indiana Jones movies, right, where like the first 5 minutes would be so crazy, like he would just be like using a vine to jump into a temple, and then he would like punch some things and there would be like all these traps. Like it would be so interesting, so you'd watch the rest of the movie with a lot more care, even if the rest of the movie was not like that great quality. Same thing here. If the introduction to the resume is good, you will read the resume with a lot more care if the first few lines grab your attention. Here's another quick example. So this one, it's like, here's my objective. This is what I want. I want a job, blah, blah, blah. But this one, on the other hand, is like, here's who I am. Here's what I can do for you, right? So talking about what the candidate can do for the employer helps make the resume a lot more interesting. Okay, here's another really quick example. This is really impressive because he went to Harvard Law. However, if we go to this one, this helps him look properly experienced. What some people have, like a lot of people will start with their degree even if they have lots of experience, which, it does kind of make them look less experienced than they are. So starting with a summary that would instead shine a light on whatever's most relevant to the reader will help the reader pay more attention. So basically, there are two main points to making a good impression. First and foremost, the recruiter should be able to quickly identify what you're targeting, and you should not be selfish and you should not use a lot of self-descriptors. You should not have an introduction that literally anyone else can use. Instead, if we go back to this one, you can see how this introduction does not fit all of the other people that he's applying against, versus this one does. It's like, okay, you are, you know, not really like, you're literally like everyone else. Everyone else that I'm looking at is looking for a full-time position. However, this person has actually built desktop applications, has actually worked in an agile environment, knows about software development lifecycle best practices, right? So it's much more useful for me to read that for like a hiring decision. Okay. All right. I'm gonna skip through this, but basically the point is that people are paying more attention to the left half of the resume because that's where your job titles are. Like, I really care what someone's previous job history is. I really care what their degrees are. So like as a human being, you know, when I'm reading a resume, I'm gonna be kind of like skimming along this margin. So you kind of want to load everything here as opposed to like, you know, burying your best accomplishments at the end of each line. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to skip through that because ChatGPT is going to help us manage all of that. Let's skip through this. Now, let's do a quick exercise together. Look at your own history and think about which section in your resume do you feel is going to be the most relevant to your reader. When you look at your own history, do you think, okay, based on the job that I want, my education is going to be the most relevant to the reader? Or do you think, no, it's my school projects? Or is it your extracurricular activities? Do you have a work assignment that you think is really interesting? So let me know in the Q&A or in the chat, based on your history, what do you think is going to be the most impressive to readers, right? Based on the job that you want. So I had a really great question already from 19EL86, which is, I'm sure, the name that your parents gave you. This person says, ma'am, I am an electrical engineering final year student. How can I make my FYP effective in a way that would help me in the future? So that's a really great question. And while you guys are thinking about this exercise, I'm going to answer it really quickly. So if we go online and we go onto LinkedIn, and I'm going to look for an electrical engineering job. So here we can see, and I'm going to zoom in because I know my screen is rather large. Here we can see that this job, at least, let's say this is like the job that you want to do, or like it's very similar to the job you want to do. It talks about, let's see. So lead large projects with a complex scope, implement electrical solutions, enclosures, and mechanisms. So you can find a professor or an organization that's working on a similar area. Like what, you know, like, is there anybody who's researching something similar in this area? Is there any organization that's working on something similar? You can do your FYP on that related topic, or you can seek mentorship from them to make sure your FYP is super duper relevant to the kind of job you want to do. There's like stuff on eliminating malfunctions, so like troubleshooting, root cause analysis. If your FYP can include any of these critical skills, it'll really help you look very employable, right? Okay, so now going back to the exercise, hopefully that answers your questions. 19EL86, you can let me know. What do you guys think? Okay, first of all, what kinds of jobs are you guys interested in? I want at least 3 people to let me know in the Q&A. What kinds of jobs are you interested in? I'm going to start calling people out if I don't get an answer. Okay, what did we see here? One new comment. It's the Instagram. No problem. I think some people are raising their hands. If you can use the Q&A, I'll show you what it looks like on my end. So if you go here, after people, after raising hand, if you go all the way, you'll see Q&A button right here. If you click that, you can then ask a question. Okay, so we have some answers already. Mishkat is interested in a mechanical design engineer role, and 18WMEC4474 is also interested in design engineering. So both of you guys, what are you thinking would be the strongest focus point of your resume? Is it your projects? Is it your education? Is it some school assignment that you did? Is it an extracurricular activity? Let me know what you think would be the strongest. Okay, so Ali answered a perfect answer. He says jobs related to web or coding related because I have learned some front end and I love coding. Okay, perfect. So if you are interested in a job, you know, he's interested in a coding job. Now he's learned front-end coding. So in the start of his resume, he can begin with some of the work that he's done already. If he's done any coding, he can feature that project on his resume and that sort of thing. Okay. All right, so looks like we've gotten some good answers. Let's move on with the presentation. Hopefully this gets you guys thinking about what would be the most attractive aspect of your profile to the reader. Right? My goal is to empower you. It's not to make you feel like, oh my God, I don't have anything to showcase on your resume. I have so many clients that come to me and they're like, I haven't done anything. But after digging carefully through their history, we find a lot. Even if it doesn't seem 100% related, some of the soft skills that you pick up, like project management, people leadership, being able to handle large volumes of cash, that trust and reliability. These are critical skills that an employer would be interested in, and being able to word them in a way that makes sense is going to make your resume look attractive. And I'll show you how to do that with ChatGPT shortly. Okay, perfect. So let's move on now. Let's talk about rule number 2. Rule number 2 is to speak the reader's language. You have to use language that can be easily understood by your reader. And in most cases, the first reader of your resume isn't going to be a human being. It's going to be an applicant tracking system. An applicant tracking system is a program, a software, a tool, whatever, depending on the organization, that's going to read the information on your resume and interpret it for the recruiter. So let me show you guys a very quick example of what an applicant tracking system is. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to hire an electrical engineer. All right, let me zoom out so I can see what I'm doing. Go back. I'm trying to hire an electrical engineer. Let's say electrical engineer, Los Angeles. Oops. That's who I'm looking for. All right, so now I see like a bunch of people who have the keyword Los Angeles in their location, and they have electrical engineer either in their headline or in their job title. So LinkedIn is like, okay, I think based on your search, this is what's going to be most relevant to you. So it's going to organize information for me in that order. And it's going to show me a really small snippet of what that candidate's profile is in line with my search query. So what the LinkedIn search system is doing is it's condensing the profile into like a snippet that I can then understand and make a decision regarding who I want to have a conversation with. So if I am in, you know, the private sector, let's say I'm not, this person's working for the city of Los Angeles, this one's working for the Los Angeles Department of Power. Let's say I'm not in the government, I am a private employer. This person, you know, no, just kidding, not even this person. Like I'd move on to see if there's somebody who has, everyone's working for the Department of Water and Power. Okay, this one, S.Y. Lee Associates, electrical consultants working in Glendale, California. This person has private sector experience. I would click on their profile. So like I have skipped through all of these people because they didn't have, like LinkedIn made it easy for me to find them, right? So just like that, your resume isn't initially read by somebody. And this is LinkedIn, it's not a resume, granted. However, this is how an applicant tracking system works. I plug in a search query, I let you know, the tool know who I'm looking for. Maybe I put in my job description and I say I'm trying to hire people for this job description. And depending on the sophistication of the tool, it presents to me candidates, giving me various snippets about their history so I can make an informed decision about whose resume I'm actually going to read. So when the second rule of, you know, what we're working on is to speak the reader's language, we have to understand that the first reader is actually not even a human being. It's a parsing tool that is reading through your resume, right? Okay, just a little meme here. What you can do is keep the reader engaged by using their language only. So here's the question. If you are young and you don't have any professional history, how do you include keywords that are related to the job market, right? Like you haven't done any work, let's say you haven't even started your FYP, like you feel so intimidated and overwhelmed, like maine kuch bhi nahi kiya, main kya likhu resume mein, right? So the easiest way to do this is to look through your school assignments. So let's go back to that example earlier and let's actually do something else. Let's look for a design engineering job since we have 2 design engineers here. Okay, so then Ariba is also asking, how do you construct a resume that's relevant if you switched majors? Okay, so people are asking questions that I'm just about to answer. So let's say you are looking for a design engineering role. Okay. Now, let's say you're interested in something that looks like this. But design engineering is very complex. It depends on the field that you're interested in. Maybe you're not interested in HVAC and piping. Maybe you're interested in like automotive design engineering. So you would just change the, you know, the query based on whatever you're looking for. But let's say for the sake of this example, that's what we're looking for. You have to see, did I study this in any of my classes? Did I study mechanical piping layouts in any of my classes? Did I study HVAC layout and direct routing in any of my classes? If you've done nothing related to your, you know, the job that you want, but you've studied it and you're like, look, I've studied it, I know what to do. So what you can do is actually write your resume accordingly. So I'll show you guys an example. Let's say like this is your education. Let's say you started, let's take Ariba's example. Let's say you were studying history and you then transition to mechanical design engineering, right? So in your education, in your projects, in your work history, you would only include things that are relevant to design engineering and not history, right? So in the education, let's say it's a bachelor's of engineering and design engineering. Okay, and then you can say courses. And you don't want to list the courses like your school lists them. You want to contextualize it for the reader. So let's say you took a course called Fluid Mechanics 101. Okay, what that's telling me as a reader is fluid mechanics. Okay, I don't know how that's relevant to what I'm interested in. But let's say while the course's name in the school system is fluid mechanics, in the curriculum, the primary thing you were studying was HVAC fluid flows or something. I don't know. So like fluid flow design. And then you can, if you want to like make it even more detailed, you can say like undertook a project to do XYZ, blah, 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 right? And then let's say you did another project, electrical single line diagrams. Let's say you studied electrical engineering. All right, what is electrical engineering? To someone who's looking to hire a mechanical and design engineering, that like, I don't care if you study electrical engineering. However, if you change it to what the course actually was, let's see. So let's say you studied electrical engineering. That's the name of the course. Studied electrical, oops, that would be power plants. Well, studied is like a weak term. We want to make a more active role. Just studying something is not, you know, that great. Let's say we completed several projects to map out electrical pipelines, right? So something like that. Even if you feel like I don't have any experience, just doing something like this can help. And this is like courses. Everyone has taken classes. All of you guys have taken the 4 years, or you're going to be taking the 4 years that you need to complete your degree. Let's say you're close to completing your degree and still you didn't study the thing that you need to study. Like, let's say, you know what? Not a single course that I took taught me how to create structural steel plans for buildings. Also, who is hiring for this role? They want everything. They want HVAC. They want structural. Sab chahiye unko, bhai. You better be paying a lot. Yeah, probably they're paying a lot. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so let's say you didn't study this. What you would do is you would just go online and you would find a course on structural steel plans. Udemy, let's try Udemy. You can try Coursera. Oh, look, perfect. So then we can add another section. And we don't even have to complete this. We can just add this and we can say anticipated. Let's see, it's May, so we'll say July 2023, right? So just like that, you can ensure that the keyword is there, but you shouldn't lie. You should actually finish that study. Otherwise, you're not going to do that job well. You're probably going to get fired. You're going to end up homeless, and your mom and dad are going to be like, Besharam. So I know we're all Desis here, and we're really scared of Amin Abba saying Besharam. So don't do that. Actually do the course and finish it and make sure you are studying. And this one's really high priced. If you sign up for Udemy, they will, almost always take off 90%, which is significant. Or you can look for a much cheaper course. And there's lots of free courses that are offered by MIT, by Harvard. You just have to look into their edX programs and sign up. If you are hardworking and you're smart and you're diligent, no matter what your story is, no matter how many times you've changed your majors, if you're dedicated, you can make sure that your resume looks good. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. And I know that's a question that a lot of people have, because this is a very normal thing that happens in the world now. You change your majors, things happen where you're not able to finish internships and projects, but making sure you have those keywords in there will help you at least get through the applicant tracking system parsing step, right? So keywords, as you may already know, I've already shown you, these are basically nouns that the algorithms are catching. It helps people, screen things, and people are looking for them too. Like, I'm actually going to be looking for those keywords when I'm making those hiring decisions, right? Okay, you have the skill, you don't have the skill. Like, I'm gonna be able to prioritize which resumes I look at. Let's skip through this. Okay. So common keywords include job titles, industry terms, technologies, degrees, any certifications, that sort of thing. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Basically, what is the job description saying in it? You want to mimic that language on your resume. You can find specific keywords by using my website. Well, let's not do that. Let's actually go ahead and use ChatGPT to do this. So here I'm showing you how to read a job description and find keywords. We don't have to do that anymore. You can take these keywords and sprinkle them throughout your resume like I've done in the summary section. What we can instead do, and here I've, sprinkled them throughout this person's experience. What we're instead going to do is we're going to use ChatGPT. So here's how. Let's go to ChatGPT. I think I already have it open. Yeah. So I have ChatGPT open here. Let's start a new chat. And let's take this job description. Okay. Let's say I'm interested in a senior design engineering role. I really like this job description. I want to understand what are the keywords in this that I need to include on my resume. So what are the keywords in the below job description that I should include in my resume? And then it's going to tell me. So it's telling me all the keywords I should include. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see. So these are all really good skills that I should include in some way, shape, or form in my resume. Some of the softer skills like verbal skills, communication skills, blah, 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 like that, you don't really have to include. These are things that you have to prove. Like instead of saying, I have written communication skills, you can say, I wrote a report that was approved by the government that was overseeing our municipality or whatever. You know what I mean? So let's do this. Okay, so you can make sure that these are interspread throughout the skills section of your resume, throughout the education, throughout the experience. Just sprinkle them in a way that makes sense. All right, then we have okay. So what about human beings? So let's talk about how people read resumes. After the applicant tracking system shortlists some resumes, it's typically looked at by HR lay people. So like if you're interested in a design engineering role, the next person who's going to read your resume probably isn't going to be a design engineer. It's probably going to be someone in HR. They may have some familiarity with design engineering, but they don't do that every day. So they're not going to know like all of the technical aspects of what makes a design engineer superior versus mediocre, right? So here's how to optimize your resume for an HR lay person. Sorry, I didn't talk about that. I'll talk about that shortly. Okay, and then the next person that reads your resume is a decision maker. This is usually somebody who is the person deciding that they need your help. Usually they have some serious business problem that they need to be solved. They usually do have some familiarity with your work. Maybe they do the work that they're hiring for. Maybe they're a design engineering manager, so they have some experience in that space. So it's really tricky to write a resume that works really well for applicant tracking systems and HR people and the decision maker. So what you can do to make your resume more legible to them is by avoiding self-descriptors, you know. So that means like you don't want things like, hey, I'm results oriented, I'm good at public speaking, I have great communication skills, I have great leadership skills. These things aren't really like, this is stuff that everyone says. What you want to instead do is prove that you have those skills, right? So prove that you have good public speaking skills. Talk about the workshops that you led. Talk about what you've written and how many people have read it, or if it got approval. You know, you have to prove that you did something. I will answer questions shortly. Let me just finish up this one rule and then I'll take questions. Okay, where am I? Oops. I like this comic a lot. May I keep your resume? It has so much padding. I'd like to have it made into a parka. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to pad your resume until it's like not even sensible. You want to make sure it actually sounds good. So let's quickly use ChatGPT to take your experience and make it relevant to your target job. So let's take that example from before. Let's say you studied history, you changed your major, you know, to design engineering. Now you're like, how do I take my history stuff, all the stuff that I did as a history major, and make it relevant to an employer in the design engineering space? Simple, you can ask ChatGPT. So let's detail what we did as a history major, right? So let's say you're the head of the History Society. As head of the History Society at NUST, I managed a club that I grew from 50 members to 100 members, and we were able to, we were able to do several workshops on post-colonialism, which got a lot of great feedback from our members. I am now transitioning into a design engineering space. can you write this experience for my resume in a way that would entice a design engineering employer? Okay, so let's see how ChatGPT writes it. There you go. So I think this is too much. I think the fact it's writing like a lot, and I don't think that's going to be like that much. Like, okay, let me show you guys what a resume would look like. This one. Oh, here we go. So typically, like, here's what your resume is going to look like. It's probably going to be only one page. So if we write 5 bullets, like, it's going to take this much space, right? So maybe we don't have this much content related to history. Maybe we have some other, you know, good design engineering stuff that we want to showcase. So let's ask ChatGPT to revise this. Can you only write 1 bullet instead of 5? And it'll do it for us. The thing I love about ChatGPT is it's so nice. It's like, oh, here it's like showcasing the positive impact of your workshops. Like it's gonna help you. Like it's gonna show you how you successfully manage and expand a group. Like it's so encouraging that I think, you know, just going through this exercise, if you feel not very confident about your history, can make you feel a lot more confident. All right, so before we get to rule 3, let's quickly take some questions. Ariba asks, is it a good idea to add accomplishments that you're super proud of, international conferences, exchange programs, but are not relevant to the job directly? So you want to do this exercise to contextualize it, right? So let's say you participated in an international program and you are interested in, let's say, a computer engineering role, okay? So let's say you were doing Model UN, okay? I was a finalist in Model UN and traveled internationally to compete. I am not sure how to say this on my resume considering, is it? What did I say? I said computer science. I am targeting entry level. Can you help me write this? Okay, so here's some demonstrated diplomacy, critical thinking, problem-solving skills. So you can kind of look at it and see, okay, this is potentially how I want to talk about it. And then you can revise, you know, I think this is too much, like 5 lines again is too much. You can ask it to revise based on, you know, what you think would be relevant. Okay, so Sayed, hope that answers your question, Ariba. Let me know what you think about that. So Sayed asks, I'm pursuing MS data science and having difficulties getting shortlisted. Could you please review my resume for me so that I can give more? Unfortunately, I don't have the bandwidth to personally review your resumes. I have to, like, I just don't have the capability. However, you can reach out to your CSO and please encourage your CSO to invest in a partnership with us where we can train them on providing feedback to you in a more productive manner. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, we can explore that in that manner. Muhammad asks, have you ever posted a job on LinkedIn? The thing is, I want to ask, how do recruiters filter through 200 job? So you don't, like, when you see a job, like how many people have applied to this? It'll tell you right here somewhere. It tells you somewhere, I forgot, but like it'll tell you like 400 people have applied to this, 200 people have applied to this. Nobody looks at all of those resumes. What they literally are doing, like so many people apply that don't have any relevant skills, and you can just ask it to present the top 20 candidates or top 10 candidates, and then just look at that. So the tool LinkedIn, I don't have LinkedIn Recruiter. I have LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's a different platform, but it'll sort them for you such that you're only looking at the top candidates. So nobody's actually looking at your resume if it's not, relevant. Like, you have to make sure that it's relevant, and then that way they are going to take a look at your resume. And you do that by mimicking the language, right? Like, whatever language you're seeing there, try to make sure somehow it's there, whether in your education section or your experience section. Hope that answers your question. Sufyan asks, can we mention industrial trips that are related to the job description? Yeah, I would still use ChatGPT to kind of make it better, because if you just list the trip, it's not like, I wouldn't really know what to do with it. However, if you use ChatGPT and you're saying, okay, this is what I did on the trip, this is what we learned, this is what we studied, I am interested in these kinds of jobs, it can help show you how to write that in a way that's more powerful. Ariba asks, okay, I already answered that. I honestly, okay. New questions. Muhammad asked, in another experience, I mentioned a project I did on Upwork and explained what the project is. Is it too explanatory, or should I only mention what skills I used on that? It depends. I mean, if it's like the most relevant thing that you did, I would probably talk about it in a bit of detail. As an employer, I always prefer to see a short description of what the project entails as opposed to just skills, because how someone very exceptional uses the same skill versus how someone mediocre uses the same skill, they might write it the same way on their resume. But if someone is saying, I use this skill to achieve X, Y, and Z, that's going to be a lot more attractive to me as a hiring manager. All right, let's jump back to rule number 3. Rule number 3, people love drama, right? Okay, so can everyone let me know in the chat, what is your favorite show or movie that you watched this year and why? Everyone let me know. I'll tell you guys what I watch. Is like very, very, very stupid Korean drama named Mr. Queen. And it's so stupid, but I really like it because I use my brain 24/7 at work. So when I'm not working, I want to get stupider. So I always watch really stupid things. I cannot watch serious things. So that's why I loved it. But let me know in the chat. And I promise you this is relevant. I promise you. So just let me know and we'll talk about it. What was the best thing you watched this year? Okay, so you watched Mr. Queen. You understand the appeal. It was stupid, but it was funny. So in Mr. Queen, there's this Korean chef, like this really top Korean chef. And somehow, uski jo atma hoti hai na, uski atma, like it goes in the body of an ancient queen. And so now he wakes up and he's like a queen in the ancient times, like 200 years ago. And then he has to navigate that situation, like being newly married to the king and all the politics. There's like a lot of drama and it's really interesting. Like people like watching that stuff because that's how people communicate. No matter who you are, no matter like where you are in the world, storytelling is a great way to engage your reader, right? People love drama. We want to consume stories. We like stories that have a very good beginning, middle, and end. We like stories that help us feel engaged. And you might be thinking, okay, yeah, right. What does Korean drama and what does all this bakwas have to do with my resume? And I'll show you guys. So here's an example of a resume with no drama. This guy was a software developer and research intern at Amazon, which is good. Like, you know, if you're an intern at Amazon, it's a very competitive internship. And he did, or she did, full life cycle application development, optimized, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so very standard stuff that you would do at any internship. Let's add some drama to this resume. How do you do that? Well, instead of just these standard bullets, we're going to make each bullet tell a story. So you can see now that, let's look at the second bullet, for example. Streamline data extraction from local government websites by creating web scraping bots and ease data for imports by creating CSV-based output files. So this has some drama because there's like a problem, right? The data import first was very difficult. He made it easier. First, the data extraction was difficult. She streamlined it, he or she, they streamlined it. Like you can see a change, right? There's a before and an after. And look at this third one, cut application runtime by 88% by optimizing web scrapers. So like the technical things are there, threading, multiprocessing, you know, the Python request library, beautiful soup, like all of the tools are there, all of the technical processes are there. It's the same as this one. However, this one is more powerful because it explains a change. You know, there's some drama there. Like you think, wow, what is happening here? I mean, it's not like as exciting as Mr. Queen. However, if I am an employer and I'm like, man, these applications are taking way too many resources, way too much time to run. If I see this, I'm like, oh my God, okay, I need to really understand who this person is, why they did this, how they did this. I need to bring them in for an interview and, you know, potentially hire them. In this one, we don't see that drama. If I have this pain, like, listen, being a boss and having a team is such a headache. Like you have so many stresses on a day-to-day basis. I'm saying this as an employer of 30 people. It's a very challenging thing to do. So if I'm seeing content like this in someone's resume where they're talking about like how they're making things easier, like they're ensuring accuracy, that's drama because something there was not accurate before. And they did something to make it accurate. You know, that's a story. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? There's a change that's happening. So that is how you should write your resume. So let's jump back again. Let me see if I shared anything. Yeah, so here, whenever someone reads your resume, they're asking themselves, can you solve my business problems? Prove it. So I asked a bunch of questions, like I listed a bunch of questions, which you guys can, you know, take a look at on your own time later. You can access all of these questions at where? Hold on. Yeah, let me, there's the URL that I'd like to share with you. It's called careertuners.com/ is it? Something like that. Let me see if I can find it. Really quickly, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's careertuners.com/ workshops / 2021. Here, I have all the slides. You can take a look at that. However, I'm telling you now, and I'll paste it in the FAQ so you guys can grab it from there. I'm telling you now, some of the material is not as powerful as you can just get it from ChatGPT. So let's do another quick exercise. Let's say we want to add some drama to the resume. Where did it go? So here's what we're going to do. We'll say, ChatGPT, let's see, what's something that feels really boring? I recently did an internship at the library. I am not sure how to look at this experience critically for the sake of writing my resume. Can you ask me some questions that would help me make this experience more engaging to a hiring manager looking to hire someone? I don't know. What's the job? What's the job? What's the job, people? Let's see. Okay, so let's do data science. Looking to hire a master data manager. Okay, so ChatGPT is going to ask you some questions. All right, what do we got? What were your primary responsibilities? Did you work with any specific library systems or databases? Okay, did you have any? Okay, so these are some fantastic questions. And what you can then do is answer the questions. So like stop generating, and then I'll be like, okay, blah, 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 this is what I did. Please help me write it, and it'll help you write it. Now, as we have seen, it's gonna put together a resume that might be a little long, right? You can copy and paste the entire resume, and you can say like, please shorten this by 50%. Please shorten this to, you know, 25 lines or whatever, and it'll do that for you. Okay. All right, let's see. It's 9 o'clock, so I'm going to be wrapping up soon. Do I have anything else that I want to share with you guys? Okay, so I'm not really going to go into this because, like, basically, a good resume bullet, I'll go over this quickly. A good resume bullet says, I achieved this or I solved this by using these tools, right? ChatGPT is going to do that for you. So we're going to skip through the examples. Don't worry too much about that. If you still want access to it, you can check out the slides that I shared in the chat. So let me see if there's any other questions. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know. If not, we can adjourn this meeting. Quick announcement. I do run a nonprofit called careertuners.ai. What we're trying to do is do more workshops and create self-paced courses for students in Pakistan, such as yourself. If you are interested in volunteering in managing our learning management system and creating courses using our existing material, please get in touch with Bilal. Send him your resume, and if it looks good, Bilal, you can forward it to me, and we'll see if we want to work with you on this project, which our goal is to impact more than 10,000 students by the end of 2023. So if that's something you're interested in, you can go ahead and reach out to Bilal. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll stay on for 3 more minutes and then I will have to leave.
So thank you very much, Fatemah, for your time, and you've gone in depth of detailing the entire process of how to make a resume, and I'm pretty sure that it'll be really helpful for our attendees. And for those of you who attended, I hope that this session this session and Fatemah's experience provided you with mentorship to craft your resumes or improve them to avail those internships, jobs, and fellowships, and higher education opportunities that you want to pursue. So lastly, I'd say that do follow us. Follow Robotics and Automation Club on our social media, on our Instagram at RSC_CEME to be notified of any other future event that we're organizing. We're planning a lot coming. There's a lot coming up. We're planning a lot. So do follow us on our social media to be notified of all those webinars and professional development seminars that we'll organize. With that, let's end. Fatemah, what do you say?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, everyone. And good night to everyone of the attendees, and good morning to Fatemah.
Thank you. Have a good one.